That's unbelievable.
It's fucking unbelievable. Okay, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Unbuttoned. We have a fellow photographer, Geoff Webber.
Greetings.
Hello, Geoff.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good.
So the AI is just freaking amazing.
When it's used for good, not for evil.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's the key challenge, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that, and when you think about it, like everything I think in life is either going to be used for good or evil, and it's about just managing how or trying to catch people out on how they use stuff for evil, right?
Yeah, for sure. We're all made up of two sides. There's light and dark in everything, and so using the tools you can for the good is what we want to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and as I said, I edited 2 podcasts manually, and that took 4.5 hours, and that was just the switching of the video.
Yeah,
it's
right.
4.5 hours.
Oh my God! So this is going to become a monthly podcast, then, was it? Or
I actually had the goal of doing a podcast weekly, and then I have a tendency of actually someone else mentioned this about like getting like a dopamine hit, like when you do stuff that you really enjoy, you get that dopamine hit,
and that's what drives you to keep doing it too.
It's
positive reinforcement.
Yeah, so now I try to do a podcast whenever I can.
Perfect. Yep.
I think like the second week in January I did like 7.
Wow. Thank God for AI, right?
Thank God for AI. Yeah. The longest part of the process is uploading to YouTube.
Yeah, that can take a while.
Oh, like such a pain.
Yeah. You just set it, go to bed, wake up in the morning, and hopefully it's done and hasn't glitched halfway through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've done some of that just with, home videos and stuff, that, when the kids were smaller and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Try and share it out to the family and stuff, and you think, oh, God, got it all again.
Yeah.
Then you go back to burning CDs. I'm old, man.
Burning CDs. And I actually found a floppy disk the other day. And then just this morning, I was on the phone to my special friend that I'm visiting soon. And I was talking to her about this clairvoyant that my mum made me go and see before I left Perth.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, it's like on this recording and a cassette tape. And she was like, no, surely not. And then I found the cassette tape.
Oh, beautiful.
But I don't have a player.
Yeah.
So now I've got to find a player or Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
So that I could actually listen to it and then record it and send it to her.
We're in the same way, actually. Talking to my daughter the other day and saying about wedding videos and things like that. So, do you ever got a video? We haven't got a video player anymore. I said, I must take that to a shop and get it converted to a DVD at least.
Yeah. And then do you have a DVD player?
Yeah, I've got a Blu-ray player, which I think I've used once in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Got a drawer full. We were cleaning up. Got a new TV because after 12 years, my old plasma died at the beginning of the year. And so we got a new one, which is really great. I love it. We were looking in the drawers underneath the TV sets because now it's mounted on the wall. We've got all these DVDs and things. Nobody ever watches them because we've got streaming services out there.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how when you look back at old media and how things have kind of like evolved.
Yep.
Like it's exciting, but also you kind of like, it was kind of pretty good, like being able to
look at the historical records and things. They weren't written out on paper.
Yeah.
Like what are they going to do in 100 years, 200 years? A lot of the recorded data from now is either going to be not readable or have to be translated some other way.
Yeah.
You go back and you can go back to, Egyptian scrolls and things like that, and they're still as good as they were the day they were written.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So we sort of build in our own self-redundancy almost, which is not great for archival records.
Yeah, and it's too easy for stuff to get lost.
Don't look at my hard drive.
The question is how many hard drives?
Well, there is that. I was having dinner with a friend of mine the other night, a model I've got to be friends with as well. And she says, I get anxiety every time I look at your phone because I've got like 4,500 unread emails on the notification button on my phone, and I never delete anything. I can always find it by search.
Yeah.
And search has got better and better, which is fortunate.
Yeah.
But no, it's not ideal. It's not ideal.
I'm the same. Like I think it was probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I kind of stopped giving a shit about like the little details that really didn't matter.
Yep.
And one of those things is how many notifications I have on my phone. Like it just doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But then like I've got mates as well that are like, oh my God, you've got like 2,500 messages or like notifications on one app. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like I just don't.
Doesn't you're blind to that little button in the corner. Yeah. No, my daughter's the same. She when she's traveling at the moment, but when she's home, she'll grab my phone and start rearranging apps and things and making it some sort of order because she says I can't cope with this chaos.
Hang on, what are you doing? Giving your phone to your daughter?
Wow, I'm completely above board.
So how did you get into photography?
How long we got? Like it's a historical thing. Back in the day, I used to shoot film cameras when the OM1s and OM2s came out, and Olympus Tragic from way back. Did it for a long time. As everybody did when they get out of college, start their first job. Went on my big first overseas trip, so I bought a camera at the duty-free shop.
Yeah.
Which you never do anymore.
Yeah, you'd never do that. You only buy perfume.
Yeah.
Or alcohol.
That's true.
Which actually kind of smells the same.
Yeah. If you get desperate.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't do it for a long time. And then probably 7-8 years ago, my wife is one of, she's got 3 sisters and a brother back in New Zealand. Yeah. And one of them was having their 50th and said, we're going to do the Milford Track.
Yeah.
And so a group of these 8 girls got together, like her 3 sisters and some other friends, and they did the Milford Track and said, I need a camera to go out while I'm out on these bushwalks. Got to take pictures while you're out walking, of course.
Yeah.
So we chose a camera, and then she had that for a little while, and then she came back after one of her trips and said, I don't want to take this camera anymore because I don't like changing lenses when I'm out in the bush. I just want something more simple and or fixed one lens with a good zoom maybe. So I'll give it to me because I used to do photography back in the day. I'll have a look at it and play around.
Yeah.
Worst decision she ever made. I spend way too much money on camera gear now.
I mean, it's not it's not something that you can control because there's always new gear.
Gas is incurable.
I know. And she's the one that said she didn't want it.
I know.
So it's actually her fault.
Well, the funny thing is she's actually had more cameras than I've ever had because she keeps buying one, trying it out for a while, and this is no, I don't like this one, so she sells it again and then buys another one. So I haven't taken any of her other cast-offs, but
so she's actually the photographer.
She likes taking photos while she's out there, but I've taken it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we both used to do film back. In fact, some of the first shots when we first started dating, like probably my first overseas trip actually was in New Zealand, and I don't know if you remember David Hamilton and her uncle had a place on a lake down in New Zealand, and so I was taking these photos of her in this boat on the water, all dreamy, misty, get the UV filter and put Vaseline all over the front of the lens to make it
classic. That technique's coming back.
I know. Everything goes in a circle.
Yeah.
Everything old is new again. So.
So you went to New Zealand. You're taking photos of her, and
and so that progressed with the film days, and then you get into work, you get busy. It just dropped away as a hobby.
What did you like the most about analog and like film?
Just the fact that you had to. Well, when I didn't know it at the time because it was just there was no other option than analog. But when I look at it now, I really like using my OM2s, the old OM2. Because you got to slow down a lot. You got to be a lot more deliberate about things. You get one chance, and it teaches you patience as well. Because you've got to wait. You got to take your film out. You got to walk up to the chemist in the day and decide whether you're going to get double prints or not, and that sort of thing. But it was the whole slowing down process. These days, if I go to an event or I I shoot some F1 stuff and things like that when I'm there. I'll come home and I've got 3,000 pictures to then cull through, and you think, oh my God, how did this happen? Whereas back when I was doing it in the film days, you shoot Kodachrome 64, or when they brought out Kodachrome 200, because then you could get faster shutter speeds, it was even better. They were costing you that much money. You were very deliberate about how you took your pictures. And I think that's actually lost a little bit in the process, the slowing it down and then being more intentional about what you do can get lost. Yeah. I'm trying to actually go back and slow down now. I still love I wouldn't go back to film as a regular medium as my normal thing, but I do like the process of slowing down like that and having more intent, creating with purpose.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You bring up a valid point in today's kind of digital era. Like everyone's too fast on, I don't know, like I guess it kind of might play into the effect of like people just being a bit surface, you know, and like just wanting to get that one shot and like, you know, or like a couple of shots like slightly different or whatever, and it's just, there's no, as you say, like no intention or like doing things with purpose, and you know.
Yeah. It's like the slogan from back in the day, you know, you don't take a photo, you create a photo. Just that purpose. You go back to like Ansel Adams, who I love. He went out there, would take him all day, he'd sit there for hours and take one shot and know that it was going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I do a bit of hiking and down in Tassie and stuff, and Peter Dombrovskis would walk kilometres, days, with a 8x10 land camera on his back to go in there, and he would sit there until the light was just perfect, and then he would take the picture. I mean,
you couldn't imagine doing that now.
No. The hiking around with the big 10 kilo camera on your back is what kills me to start with. My pack's big enough already.
Yeah, like a 10 kilo pack for 8 hours. Like, jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for your cardio.
It's but we all know how some people love cardio.
Not me. It's the bane of my existence. It's my knees.
My knees too. Oh man, I tell you,
I'm not even that old.
I am. So I'm going to take that as the reason, as the excuse. I just did it was in October last year, the Great Ocean Walk from Apollo Bay to 12 Apostles.
Oh.
Took like 6 days. It's 117 Ks.
Right.
I didn't realise how much downhill there was on that.
That's the worst.
And the downhill is the worst.
Yeah.
It took me till December to recover before I really thought I'd done something serious to my knees.
I mean, good on you for like getting out there and like doing it though.
I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Was it something to like raise money or?
No, I like
compete.
2021, I did my first multi-day hike.
Okay.
I did the Cradle Mountain, the overland track in Tassie.
Yep.
With a mate down there who runs photography tours, and his photography tours are more like these, the overland track, and your photography's on the side sort of thing.
Yep.
So I did that in 2021. I'd never done a long distance hike before. And I thought, well, okay, that was it.
So we came out of COVID.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to fucking do something that I've never done before and really push my body.
Yeah. And it was great. I've done the overland track twice now.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Cradle Mountain. It's been in fog. It's been raining.
Wow.
Yeah. I did it in April last year as well.
Yeah.
I've got to change my month of going to Tassie, I think. April's the wrong time to do Cradle Mountain.
Possibly.
And we had like 6 days of cold and rain and snow and stuff like that, which
it's always cold down there though.
Yeah, it is often. Yeah, although I quite like the snow. I did one of my favourite trips I've done down there. I did 3 days in the walls of Jerusalem in the middle of winter in the snow.
Okay.
Camp in there, get all the snow off the tent platforms and that, and then you go with snowshoes hiking up them to the Dixon's Kingdom and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not see anybody for a week at a time. It's great. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
Yeah. when I started doing these things solo, because you go in a group, that's one thing, but I like going out there and doing it on my own. When I started doing that, the kids bought me for Christmas one year one of these Garmin InReach devices that have got the button on the side you can press and the helicopter comes.
Oh.
So
Thanks, kids.
Yeah.
Thanks for looking out for me. Yeah, that's really quite like I'm inspired by your like desire to like go out there on your own and like challenge yourself, and like it's really I guess it kind of shows like what type of character you are, and like how you're not afraid to kind of like do things outside of what would seem to be like limitations, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I just like getting out there because you just completely free your mind of any distractions or anything like that. It gives you a great time to think as well. You're out there, you're on your own. A wombat will walk past or something. You can just sit there and just watch the way the sky changes as it comes into sunset.
Yeah.
I just love the quiet, the solitude and things like that. That said, I really enjoyed the times I've gone on group things as well, because you got the camaraderie of it.
Yeah.
In fact, came up as one of these Facebook memories the other day that it's been 3 years since I did the first one, and the group of people there were all still quite close with a lot of those people.
Yeah.
And count them amongst friends and things, and catch up with a couple of them every time. And my mate Cam that runs these photo tours, he's a good friend now, so we see each other in and out of those sorts of situations. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so the transition from analog to digital, how did you find that?
It was interesting. I went in there not now I'd sort of analyze it and try and work out how this is all going to work. I just went in there blindly and said, I want, I've got this camera now. It's a digital camera. Oh, what does that mean? It means I can just take lots of pictures and not worry about it. Didn't know what a RAW file was. Didn't know what a JPEG was. I sort of knew what a JPEG was from computers, but the difference between the two. It's been pretty seamless, to be honest. I haven't had any issues with it. What I really like about mirrorless cameras in that transition, because I actually did have a DSLR in between times.
Yeah.
And that was fine too. But when I got into the mirrorless side of things, which is the EM5 Mark II that I got for Ange, what I really love about that is the way it's a great teaching tool as well. You change your shutter speed, you change your aperture, you can see immediately the effect that's going to have.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
100%.
And when I was teaching my daughter, when she got her first camera and I was showing, how it works and that sort of thing, trying to teach her, there's the theory of the exposure triangle on that. It's a whole lot easier to explain if you can actually see it on the screen. Say, move this. You're changing your aperture. Look what it's doing to the picture. And she's got it. And she's doing really well now. She really enjoys it too. She's got a same model of camera that I started out with and a couple of lenses with it. And she's actually on a van life trip around doing the lap around Australia at the moment. So
did you just say she's doing the van life?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Her and her partner, they're in Perth at the moment. They left in June last year, got up as far as Airlie Beach, and then came back to Adelaide for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then came back to Melbourne because they had some gigs and things they wanted to go to here.
Yeah.
Then picked up the van back at the end of February and then headed west, and they're in Perth at the moment.
Yeah, amazing.
And depending on how she goes, she's her partner will do the whole thing. We'll go up as far north as you can, then down the centre. And finish up probably November, December. She may come back a bit earlier. One thing she's discovered is that she's a bit more of a homebody than she thought, and she can be away for 10 weeks. But any longer than that, she sort of starts to get really stir crazy and homesick. Yeah.
You get conditioned, I think, to like your creature comforts of home, and like it's okay to be away for a while, but yeah. A very interesting point you make about digital cameras being easier to like learn and teach. I definitely think as well, like it's easier to understand like different techniques and like settings and how to use the camera because it's all real time.
Yep.
In analog days, you take a photo and you have to wait and you have to go get it processed, and then you have to be like, where are my settings when I did that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Unless you've got like a photographic memory on that photo and the sequence of photos that you took, or you wrote it down on a book.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you would never remember.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've got everything in the file, in the EXIF data.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
And so it's easier to then like pick it up, you know.
I think so. Yeah. And it's just open it up. It's just become more accessible for people to start photography, which is why every single person out there is a photographer these days.
Well, every single person out there is a photographer.
Well,
because
yeah.
of these motherfuckers.
I know. And aren't they good? I mean, the things that phones can do these days,
Yeah.
I'm staggered. I mean, I've got an iPhone 14, I think.
Yeah.
And I was taking pictures of we were just out at a dinner outside.
Yeah.
And I was taking pictures of Orion because the trees are all lit up and things like that. 3.5 seconds, handheld with my iPhone.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
bloody hell, why did I spend money on a sky tracker?
Yeah. I mean, that's a 14 as well. And my Cairo, I did some photos for him with his car, and he showed me an option on the 14, the action camera, the action camera setting for video, and like as long as the subject's like in the middle and you rotate round, it's like you're like, and I was handheld, with no gimbal, and it's like it was a gimbal like movement.
Oh man, really?
Yeah,
I haven't tried that. I got to try that one out.
and I was like, and my chiropractor taught me this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, and then I was like, imagine if I had like a little gimbal or like, it's just, it's phenomenal the speed at which technology's kind of advanced. And, you know, again, it's this thing about making sure it's being used for good rather than evil. And, you know,
definitely
from a photography point of view, like I think it's great that we can have such powerful devices in our pockets that can take photos because,
best camera you've got's the one you've got with you. So
yeah.
I've always liked computational photography, and Olympus has always been a big leader in computational photography. Like they have this thing called live composite, which if you've ever done any light painting or anything like that, it's just basically does it for you. Like you set this thing into live composite, you do your light painting with you know, those LED wands or whatever.
Yeah.
The shutter will stay open. The sensor is still active, but it will only write data on the sensor if it picks up a pixel that's brighter than the pixel that was already there. And so it builds.
I did not know that about Olympus. Wow.
Yeah, Olympus Live Composite. Unbelievable.
Fuck. Because I've got a light wand. I bought it like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I've never really used the light wand capability of it, but it's I can't remember what brand it is, but it was like one of the first ones that it was a Kickstarter that was
the photo gear one.
Yeah, that one.
I've got that too.
Yeah.
I bought that on Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, and you stick the card in it.
Yeah. That's it. Yep.
And
you can do the whole mural thing where you can set it up and walk this way, holding it like that.
Yeah. But like I've never done it.
Yep.
Like I thought it was freaking cool, like to see it, and I was like, I definitely need that. I'm definitely going to be using it at some point. 5 years later, I still haven't used it.
My phone should be taken off me after 10 o'clock at night. So if I get into, sitting there just scrolling through, doom scrolling, like, oh, this looks really good. My late night online purchasing. Actually, I shouldn't say that because Ange might watch this show.
That's the clip that I'll
put on. Thanks.
No, but yes, I agree with you in that with the, I guess, advancements with e-commerce and online purchasing, and the fact that Amazon can get stuff to you so quick.
It is scary how quick.
Why would you purchase anything any other way?
I know. Yep.
And like when you buy, I've worked it out. Like if you buy it before 9 a.m., sometimes it'll come by 9 p.m.
Yep.
And then it's like, great. Like, what do I need that I can't go down to the shops,
Yeah, I had this moral dilemma about buying things on Amazon. I do it all the time, but every time I do, I have to suspend my disapproval of Bezos and the whole that whole thing. But
They've got a good return policy as well.
They really have. They really have. I've used it a number of times, and they're great. And so just the local news agent's probably, I don't know, 500 meters away.
Yeah.
I can just walk up there and just say, I've got an Amazon return, got a little code on my phone that they send up, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Refunds back in your account in 2 hours. I think.
Yeah, phenomenal.
I mean, what a great time to be alive, right?
It's it is a great time to be alive. And like people I think need to appreciate that fact, I mean, I get like there's like heaps of stuff going on around the world, and there's a lot of like bad shit.
Yeah,
but like
sure.
if you wake up every day, like it's a great time to be alive.
Yep.
And
again, it's what you're saying about the AI stuff. You look at all these things for good, use them for good, appreciate the good that's out there, and the evil, let it, hopefully it'll disappear, but let it go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that about the Olympus, that it had that.
Live composite, sensational feature. Yeah.
I'll have to.
They've expanded on their whole computational photography thing is one of their niches that they've really gone with.
Yeah.
And now, like my camera has inbuilt ND filters.
Yes.
And the new one they've just brought out, the Mark II version of my camera, has inbuilt graduated ND, which I'm blown away by.
What is graduate? What's
like an ND filter is just the neutral density filter, so it makes the exposure darker, so you can get a longer exposure in bright sunlight or something like that. When you're taking landscape pictures, you want to have your sun. You're taking a picture of the sunrise or sunset. The sky is going to be a lot brighter than the foreground.
Yeah.
And so you put on a graduated ND filter, so it's like half the filter is got the neutral density coating on it, so it's darker.
Yeah.
So it cuts the exposure by 3 stops or whatever on the top half, but the bottom where you want to get more light in because it's in shadow, because it's the ground.
Yeah.
And the sun hasn't hit it yet. You can even it all out.
Does it would do that digitally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a technique, there's a way you can do it without Olympus. All they've done is simplified it. But if you take multiple exposures and then you, in Photoshop and blend them in screen mode or whatever, between your layers, you can create the same effect. And what all of the Olympus has done is worked out a way of doing that in camera. Like this live composite thing is essentially the same as using the screen mode in between layers in Photoshop.
Yeah,
where only lighter pixels will show up in the second in the layer.
Yeah,
that comes up. That's all that's happening with in camera.
Yeah, it's
just really cool to see it happen in real time.
Yeah. I think there is actually, what's it called? I don't know what the technical term is, but when you take a photo in camera and then it merges the 3 photos together.
HDR.
Is it HDR?
Or exposure bracketing?
Exposure bracketing, yeah.
Yep.
But what you're talking about with Olympus, I think, is like, they've obviously done their research and had a look at how to advance or evolve, the composite lighting kind of features and the stuff that they're market leaders for.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're a self-taught photographer?
Mostly, yeah. Back in 2019, I actually went to Big Photo College in Melbourne here. Right. I don't know if we just need to say names or anything like that, but PSC.
PC, yep.
And so I started their 4-year advanced diploma in photography.
Fuck.
Yeah. But I didn't finish, 2019, lots of things happened around that time.
Yeah.
So 2019 was all great. I loved it. I was all set to do the whole 4 years, everything. Come 2020, we were about 6 weeks into the course and then the world fell apart.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we're going to make this an online-only course. I said, I don't want to spend tuition money on an online course. And so I deferred for the first year, for the rest of 2020. And then 2021, it was still online and it was uncertain as to what was going to happen. So I withdrew. I thought, well, in some ways that's been good and bad, all good, because I figured, well, I've got this tuition money I sort of had set aside. I'll use that to go traveling. I'll go and, do workshops that I want to do for specific things.
Buy a new camera.
Well, there was that.
buy the wife a new camera, and then hopefully she gives it to me.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my hands on her Leica Q. So
Oh, she's got a Leica Q.
That's where we settled at the moment.
That's where she's most happy. That's a fixed lens?
Fixed lens, yeah. But it's good. It is really nice, I must say. I haven't played with a lot. It's got it hidden away a little bit.
She's gatekeeping the equipment. Yeah. What? Where did you find this woman? It's quite. I think that's real nice. Like, you know, she's got a Leica Q that she doesn't let you touch, and like she gives you the ability to spend all this money on all this other photography.
Well,
equipment.
there is that. Yeah, there are discussions ongoing about that part of it, and there have been since all the other things that happened at the end of 2019, 2020. I was sort of winding down from work and things, and then I took a maternity leave contract as my last thing that I figured I'd be doing, the 4-day a week, and that contract finished in November 2019. I thought I'll take November and December off and go back and start something new in January, February. Well, we all know what happened that period of our history, and it all got too hard. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to go back to work anyway. So that's where I pulled stumps and declared retirement. So that's been nice. Angela's only condition was, because she'd been working from home in her job since before COVID, like since 6 months before that. Says, that's fine, you can try. That's all right. You can't be home every day. You can't. I work from home here every day. You can't be home every day. And so that's where I started going out and, outside things, doing landscapes and getting back into photography more and experimenting on different things.
So what did you do as your like professional job?
Mostly in finance, IT things. Like I was 10 years as a interbank foreign exchange trader. This is back in the 80s.
Foreign exchange trader extraordinaire here. And photographer.
On the futures exchange. And one of these people who go crazy yelling and screaming and yeah, I did all that. It was the 80s, mate. It was different.
I was in banking and finance for 12 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I first came here to Melbourne.
Oh, right.
So 2001 to 2013, yeah.
Cool.
Like I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. It was good fun. It was good fun. And then after about 10 years of that, I jumped the fence and became corporate and worked for a big American chemical company for the next 17 years or so.
Right.
Financial operations planning, credit management, treasury systems. That's where I started to get into the IT side of things because we were running treasury. Lived in Singapore for 18 months.
What the fuck? When were you in Singapore?
94, 95.
Oh, you just missed me.
Really?
We lived in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah. 88 to 93.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad worked in the oil industry. And I was actually born in Singapore.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was born in Singapore on holiday.
Okay.
And then we moved to Indonesia for 2 years because my mum's Indonesian. And then lived in Brunei for 6. And then we moved to Singapore for 6.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Singapore, I really liked Singapore. When the the expat thing happened, I thought people were saying, why would you want to go live in Singapore? I said, you can't do this, can't do that. It's way different if you live there.
Yeah.
I think it's I really like it. I haven't been back there for a long time. I'd like to go back and have a visit and catch up with people from there. But I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, my sister's been there now for 11 years.
Okay.
Maybe 12 years. Maybe 11. But she's an assistant principal of the school that we went to.
Oh, right.
So she's like ultimate alumni.
Yeah.
So ultimate that they use her for any of the marketing material.
Right.
Because it really encompasses the ethos of the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, trying to attract new students and all this. It's like, look at this,
Yeah.
Our star student is now, back working
here
for us. And,
cool.
she's so good at what she does.
Oh, good one.
She started off as an Indonesian teacher, ESL, and just worked her way up. And now she's
great.
like assistant principal. And
I did jumping around a little bit, I did a Master of Accounting at Swinburne, and one of the people I met there, they now live in Singapore. She works for another chemical company, and he's assistant principal. Well, yeah, up there with at the Australian school there. So there.
Yeah. Okay, so you got into like financial systems.
Financial stuff, yeah, and then worked for an American company, did all this thing, and that's how I got to Melbourne as well, because I was in Sydney all through this.
Right.
And so in 2000, I was the last Treasury person left in Sydney.
Yeah.
Head office used to change between Sydney and Melbourne depending where the MD lived. So okay, that's fine. And we both, and my wife and I at the time, not at the time, she still is. we'll edit that bit out, right?
I won't clip that bit for Instagram.
We both thought we'd come to Melbourne for a couple of years and then go back to Sydney, because we thought, why would you want to live in Melbourne? You know?
Yeah.
The whole Sydney-Melbourne rivalry thing was big.
Yeah.
The kids were born in Sydney, so anyway, we came here, and from 2000 onwards, we're not going anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's great little place.
Yeah. So your kids are in Sydney still?
No, they're here.
Oh, they're here?
Yeah, because they were 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're here, and they only know Melbourne, really.
Yeah.
They wouldn't want to be anywhere else, I don't think. They love it here.
I think it's interesting you mentioned the whole Sydney-Melbourne rivalry. Look, I've been to Sydney a couple of times, and I always think to myself, it's just so busy, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like the roads.
Yeah, yeah. All they did when the first fleet landed, they let the goats run out, and then they bitumened them, and that's how they got the road system.
Yeah,
I grew up in Adelaide, and Adelaide's on the grid.
Yeah, Adelaide's grid.
Colonel Light, Christchurch in New Zealand, Adelaide, Melbourne, the Hoddle grid here. Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah,
Sydney is all over the place,
and I think also like because Adelaide and Melbourne's quite flat.
Yeah,
whereas Sydney is very undulating.
Yeah. Sydney's really constrained. Has to go very north-south.
Yeah.
Because you got the sea on one side and the mountains on the other.
Yeah.
Adelaide's got the hills, but Adelaide hills are pretty
quite a fair way away.
Yeah. And Melbourne just spreads. That's why Melbourne's now the biggest city in Australia. I didn't realise that until only a week or so ago.
No, I didn't know that either.
Just over 5 million people now in Melbourne, in Greater Melbourne, and Sydney's.
Yeah, that must mean that we've just had heaps of immigrants.
Does. Yep. And that's why it takes you, 2 hours to drive from one side of Melbourne to another. Not just because of the traffic, but because of how far it's spread around.
Yeah. So what were you doing in Adelaide? Did you grow up in Adelaide?
I grew up in Adelaide, yeah. Okay. I was actually born in Queensland.
Okay.
And then when I was 6, we moved down to Adelaide.
Yeah.
So lived there forever until I went to college. I finished school at 17. I turned 18 my first year at college.
Yeah.
I trained to be a high school teacher. That's what my undergrad is.
Right.
Geography and economics and stuff like that.
You see, like I was telling you before we started this, everyone's got an origin story.
Yeah.
Like the background to, how people have gotten to where they've gotten. Like, I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Sliding door moments and things like that. If I hadn't met some people at certain times, and everybody's the same way.
Yeah.
You take your opportunities just come up. Like if I hadn't decided to become a corporate, I would never have gone into this whole Singapore thing. And if we hadn't moved
the experiences in Singapore.
Yeah. If we hadn't moved to Melbourne, we wouldn't have got down the photography path and things like that probably, and got to know some of the people that we've met here. So you just take advantage of whatever situations you put yourself in, or find yourself in rather.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah. What if someone came to you and was like, "Hey, I want to take up photography," what would you tell them?
Go for it. Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Ask them what their motivation is, or why do they like photography? They just like pretty pictures. They want to tell a story. Do they want to capture experiences that they're feeling at the time, or Do they want to do travel photography? Are they a food person or whatever?
Yeah.
What's their reason behind it? Because there's a lot of people who photographers are the thing which is one of the banes of my life, and you might get on something like this, but the whole idea of, guy with camera, avoid that at all cost. And it comes back to we talked about earlier about taking photographs and being intentional about something. The why you do is nearly as important as the what you do and the how. If there's a reason behind it or motivation, what's your motivation for doing this?
I think you're so right. Like, you can really tell by looking at someone's photos whether or not there was very clear intentions. And far too often I hear stories of like people who've had bad experiences because the intentions weren't right. So yeah, like I think the advice that you mentioned about work out what you want out of it, you should go for it. And then as long as people like stay on that path and, continuously learn.
It's something that works in all forms of life, is your authenticity. Be true to what you are yourself. Don't be putting on a persona because that's what's expected. As long as your intention is intention is pure. It sounds very cliche and that sort of thing, but if you're clear and you are your authentic self, and this is an expression of your authenticity, you'll go a long way. You'll succeed in what you're trying to create, develop, and show to the rest of the world.
I 100% agree. I think as a photographer, thinking back to like when I started 11 years ago, one of the things that I didn't know what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it was like develop my own style. Like, cause you like try lots of different things.
Oh yeah.
And so then you end up trying lots of things and you're really trying to like work out like what's your formula?
What's your thing, yeah.
What's your technique or what's your, and I get that sometimes when you're in that, when you're in the throes of trying to work that out, you may feel like you're not being authentic, but that's because you're just trying to like eliminate stuff that you don't like doing or discover new things that you enjoy.
It's that process of self-discovery and finding out what your, not what your calling is, but what your true interests are, what are you trying to do with this? What are you trying to say with this? And that's why I know I'm fortunate in that I'm doing this as a part-time thing, as a hobby thing. If I can make enough money out of it to keep me buying toys, I'm happy. Ange's happy. Everybody's happy. But I never want it to become a job and an income replacement. I'm not looking for it to do that, which is why I'm very happy. Just it takes me it takes me some time to do things. I belong to a camera club purely with the intention they've got a studio and they block out times in the studio in like 6-hour blocks. So if we get in there and start playing around, I love nothing better than getting in there, having zero time pressure because you're on the clock. You're not doing anything for a client. You haven't got those sorts of external pressures or constraints on you. Just get in there and create. Try this out. Try something else out. Get some lights in, work your shadows, play with a projection or do some light painting in the corner. That's great. It's freeing. It's totally without boundary of any external limiting factors that come into it. And that's what I really love about the whole show.
Yeah, it's definitely this self-discovery piece. And I guess if someone were to come to me, I would say things like, be prepared to learn more about yourself whilst understanding techniques of photography and learning about other people and human behavior. And, if they want to focus on like photographing people.
Yeah, for sure.
But even still, like doing landscape stuff and like food or like cars, like you're still learning about yourself,
You are.
And what you like.
It's expressing your interests, expressing your the things that excite you, that motivate you. You're then demonstrating that to your viewers, to the people outside. That's what I really like about when I'm working with models and people in studio, mainly in studio, I don't do a lot of location model things. I do a lot of landscapey stuff and things when I'm going on my hikes and stuff. But the fact that I've got the freedom of time, the most important thing that I get out of it, and what's been really successful, and I count as a success because of the friendships that we've made out of the connections you make with the people you're photographing, and that's just been sensational. And what I've found in personally over my experience over the last, probably say the last 5 years or so, is I just become really open, and I found myself becoming more, this is going to sound really silly, becoming more emotional about creativity than I was previously. I mean, I'll sit down, I can be a complete mess watching somebody just be absolutely masterful at what they're doing in their creation. It can be anything, can be from singing, can be from painting, can be from a video production that I've seen where somebody's done some amazing work in there. It can really hit me in the feels more than I've ever opened myself up to experiencing, to feeling before. And if I can get that sort of emotion and make that sort of connection with the people I photograph, then that's the reason for coming back. That's why you keep doing it.
Yeah, it's I totally understand and I totally agree. It's this process of like being in this situation where you're watching creativity like organically grow and like become something.
Yep.
And I always had these like pinching moments. You kind of like, am I actually here, or did I actually take this photo?
Did I do
like,
this? Yeah.
How is this like really possible, you know? And I think a lot of that for me comes down to the fact that I'm self-taught as well. And like I look at other photographers like internationally, and I understand the process that they've gone through, and I try to analyze stuff and then try to like, you know, use some of their techniques and apply them in my style. But then I'm like, oh my God, like, did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how the
for
fuck,
sure.
how the fuck
How did that happen? Yeah, that's right.
You know, or
That's
like,
right.
how did I even get here to become this person that I am, you know?
And then you open yourself up to, and I struggle with this a lot. You know, everybody talks about it, but this imposter syndrome, like, am I really as good as what I, you know, what, is this work really mine? You know, how did I do this? Because I'm not really that good. You know, how did this happen? When you really need to have the self-belief that you
are that good, Geoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You've got to actually have that belief that you are capable of doing that, and that's what's going to drive you forward to get even better as well.
I think, so who was it? I think it was Simon Sinek. He was on a podcast and he was talking about imposter syndrome. I think it was Simon. Anyway, he was talking about the fact that imposter syndrome is a normal phase that you go through as part of progress and evolving. Like if you're not going through imposter syndrome every 18 months, that's not a good sign.
Okay. Yep.
Because you're basically pushing the level of standards higher.
Yes.
Beyond where it's currently sitting. And when it goes beyond, you then start going, oh, is this actually right?
Yeah.
You start getting uncomfortable.
Yep.
But then the more times you do that consistently, you basically become more comfortable with it. And then it becomes this like, no, that actually is me.
Yeah,
or like I am. This is what I do.
And then you can luxuriate that for a little while, but then you need to get to a point where you push again.
Correct.
And have that feeling again, saying, "Oh, I've really got to try."
Yeah.
To get myself better, and still, that's good.
Yeah. So this whole imposter syndrome piece is it's an interesting aspect to kind of like understand.
Yep.
In the fact that it is just a part of the process that you go through creatively.
You can't dwell on looking at it negatively, saying because then you'll just go into a valley of self-doubt and never get out of it.
Exactly.
So you push past that, which is great. Not easy to do all the time, but that's a great growth dynamic to feel that every 18 months or so, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So a mate of mine is getting into landscape photography. What would you say would be your like go-to camera settings? I only ask because I'm not a landscape photographer.
Purists will hate me, but I'm a big fan of aperture priority.
Okay.
Yeah. It just makes life simple. And cameras these days, it's very difficult to buy a bad camera, essentially. So as much as I'm an Olympus tragic, there is a lot of good cameras out there. But aperture priority, set your ISO as low as you can. F-stop, you'll want to have it a decent depth of field, so you'll be at F8, F11.
Yep.
And just let it go. Tripod, because you're often going to be, most time in landscape you're shooting in sunrise, sunset, blue hour either side of that.
Yeah.
To get the good light. In the middle of the day, light is hard and uncompromising and difficult.
Yeah.
You can do things like I had an old camera which I converted to infrared for using in midday because it loves midday.
Shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool. So infrared just really likes contrast and things like that, and makes great black and white photos, which are really, really nice.
Have you seen the latest June movie?
Yes.
So you know the fight scene in the stadium.
Yep. Yeah.
When it switches from like color to black and white, they actually used infrared.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere that the costume designer, they filmed it, and whilst they were filming it, they had to stop because the costumes were changing colors due to the infrared that she didn't know.
Yep.
So they'd have to stop, and she'd have to go and make complete changes.
Complete wardrobe changes,
and then come back. And I'm just like, it's just fucking amazing.
Yeah, yeah. That's true, actually, because I've done some cityscape stuff in the middle of the day, walking around the streets and the laneways in Melbourne and using my infrared camera. And you take pictures of, like they have these fabric banners that'll fly. Well, in infrared, it all just becomes white. The whole thing, there's no colour. And it all just comes in because it's just reflecting what the material is made of rather than what colour the material is. So that's how the infrared works, is on the light reflectiveness on the substrate of whatever you're photographing. Yeah. So that's why trees will turn out with white leaves and things like that, because of the composition of the leaf and how the light reflects off it in that spectrum.
Yeah, right.
It's very cool.
Right. That's so cool.
Yeah. I geek out on some of these things sometimes, and this is what I love about photography too.
I love it as well.
You got the creativity side, and then you can go right down the rabbit hole of how something works and why it works, and that's also dangerous to the Amazon account too, because if I just had this thing, it would make my life so much easier.
100%. You're like, and I guarantee my phone is listening to me.
Yeah. Don't talk about that.
I'll say something, and the next thing you know, an Amazon ad comes up, and it's like, what do I actually need? Oh, it's only $15.
I know. Yeah.
Surely I'm going to use it at some point. I think I need to get it.
That's right. Yes, I can resist everything except temptation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So your studio shoots, what would you say would be your stock standard or your go-to settings for your camera for that?
I shoot wide open because I like the shallow depth of field. I like eyes. My main thing when I'm in studio and working with a person is I have to make eye contact. I'm not one of these ones. I don't need that. You need that connection. The connection you make it with somebody and with the viewer looking at the picture is through eyes. If you can get the person looking at the picture to feel that they're there and have that connection, and I think that's done best through eyes. So I'll go wide open. I've got a 45 1.2, which works really well. I really love it. That's on Olympus. That's actually like a 90mm. So the classic portrait lens being 85.
Yep.
This is the Olympus equivalent. Because the thing with Micro Four Thirds or the Olympus cameras is they are a small sensor, which means I won't get into this argument, but in low light they're not as good as a full frame camera. Like they won't capture the amount of light in the same way or with the same lack of noise and that sort of thing. So there are things you can do around it, and it's a matter of learning how to use the tool you've got. And I'm comfortable shooting low light with my camera now.
It would have a certain aesthetic though, like from an output perspective.
Yep. Olympus camera is great because they're great for landscape and for wildlife and sport and things like that, because that crop factor works in their favour. So you got to put a 70 to 200, or in my case it's a 40 to 150, so 80 to 300 equivalents in field of view. But it's only this, it's tiny because of the crop factor that builds in. But in studio, I'll shoot wide open. I love playing with strobes. I try continuous lighting, and sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Sometimes you can't get the right effect with continuous lighting.
That's what I find, and you can't get the depth of colour that you want to get out of it. Whereas if you hit it with a burst of strobe, gels are fabulous.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I think you need much higher wattage LEDs for constant lighting to get the same sort of effect, and then you're talking mega bucks for gear that I really just don't want to do.
Yeah. I started doing like outdoor shoots with fashion and fitness, and then I got like a studio set up.
Yep.
And I was doing like studio stuff and doing a lot of like strobes with gels and stuff like that. And then I really focused in on like using natural light. Natural
light's really cool. And if you can get a good natural light studio, that's one thing that the studio I use most often is not a natural light studio at all. Like it's a black room essentially.
Yeah.
There's other places I use that have got natural light, and if you can get that soft light behind a sheer curtain or something like that, mate, you're golden. It's so good.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are purists that love either just natural light or just artificial light.
Yeah.
And I think for myself, I guess kind of great thing is that I can do both. And I love the technique of both.
Yeah, definitely.
And
it doesn't have to be like that meme, the Batman and Robin things. I only shoot natural light. Natural light's that's all that you need to do. And the other guy hits him and says, "That's because you don't know how to use flash."
That's so true. It's so true. What do you think would be some of your key strengths with your photography?
Hopefully it's the ability to make whoever I'm shooting feel comfortable and make that connection with them. That's why I spend, like I say, if I do a studio session, I'm not going to be in and out of there in 2 hours. I'm going to be there for a while. I might only be shooting for a couple of hours, but the rest of the time is just sort of making that connection so that you've then got a hook to hang the rest of the session on as to why we're doing this. It also gives you motivation, because if you make somebody feel comfortable, it's very difficult to make somebody who's uncomfortable look comfortable in a photo.
Yeah,
you can't fake that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and if it's not working, it's not going to work. So yeah, just that ease and familiarity and building that comfort level and rapport and trust. Trust is a huge thing, depending on what sort of photographs you want to do, but trust is everything. And back to my days when I was a trader, the big saying for the Association for Foreign Exchange Traders, your word is your bond. What you say, mean what you say, and follow through with what you say. If you can't trust me as a trader, as a photographer, as a person, then nothing else matters after that.
Yeah.
You break that trust and then you're gone. And that comes back to what we talked about a little while ago about the motivation for why you want to doing photographs, and you can't be inauthentic, whatever the word is. Unauthentic about why your reason for doing this sort of thing. You can fake everything except insincerity or whatever the
Yeah, no, I think you're right. One of my core principles in actually almost like everything that I do is people will always remember you based on the way you made them feel. And so being able to make someone comfortable in any type of photo shoot, gives you more of an opportunity to actually get that shot that you're trying to target for.
Yeah.
You know, and so being a open, approachable, communicative like photographer that is very clear about what we're trying to do and accommodating and like all that type of stuff just all adds up to the formula of being able to take a great shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why I've done them. I'm not a huge fan of going out on group shoots and photo walks and things like that. I have done them and I will do them on occasion. Like a couple of weeks ago, I did one, which actually I really enjoyed. But what would motivate me to participate in that sort of thing is often who's going to be there and who are we shooting that night or that day. Because I'm terrible at social media. I'm terrible at networking and sort of thing. So I use this as my way of networking.
Yeah.
And meeting people. And, I'll go on a thing, but I always I send photos and the people I've photographed on there have, commented back saying, I'd love to work together again. So that's always works really well for then getting back into that one-on-one situation where you can spend the time and then, push further down to create together.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really good.
Exactly.
I love that sort of thing.
You do come across as a natural born like people person and being able to like really make connections and, network and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy people and I like that. What motivates me in studio particularly is making that connection. Like the number I've probably got over the last 5 years or so that I've been shooting models more consistently. Probably half a dozen of them have become like really close, really good friends out of that. And we'll catch up outside of shoots and all, that sort of thing. We'll, find time for each other.
Yeah.
Just stay in contact all the time. Other ones that have become not so much jobs because it's not really a profession, but once you've done the shoot, then that's it, and you won't sort of maintain it. But if you can make that connection, that's all you need to drive you to carry on and do it again, and looking for that connection, that response back, because that drives both the creativity on both sides.
Yeah.
And passion and involvement, and you get somebody who's bored and doesn't want to be there, then it's not going to work. There's no point pushing something uphill.
Yeah, it's almost like you're like wasting each other's time if like someone's not like right into it.
Yeah.
But then how do you? I mean, the only way that you can like eliminate that situation is if people are just honest about whether or not they want to be a part of it or not.
Yeah.
So you've done a number of shoots. Which would you say would be like your ultimate shoot that you've done?
Oh, that's a big question.
We only ask the big questions on Unbuttoned. I'll give you. I'll throw an easier question, and hopefully you'll be able to answer that one.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Let me answer something just on the way through.
Okay.
Some of the shoots I've really enjoyed are when people have come to me with an idea or we've had an idea together just through talking and collaborating beforehand.
Yeah.
But then they've come into the shoot and have felt comfortable and have felt trusting and whatever, and like what they're seeing. And then they say, hey, what if we do this completely outside of their normal comfort zone?
Yeah.
And then they've expanded their whole outlook on what the shoot's going to be. That developmental process, which is why having time in the studio and not worrying about hourly rates and things like that.
Yeah.
But seeing how this can organically progress.
Yeah.
Has just been magical sometimes. We've created things there. And I'm thinking of a particular friend now who is focusing mainly now on beauty shoots, which is not really my strong point. I mean, I can do it, but the close up, high gloss, high finesse makeup work and that sort of thing. But she's a person who's basically got a ballerina physique, like long and tall, lean, and so we stretched out and we're doing like really tall poses, toe poses and things like that that she hadn't done before, hadn't thought of doing before. Loves those photos, and it worked really well. And she has commented, even though she's concentrating in a different area now, she also says that's still some of my favourite work I've done, is because we tried something new. You pushed us outside of the comfort level, within the boundaries and all that sorts of things. That coming back to that trust stuff, but just expanding horizons basically, and that's been really rewarding and builds on what your career
is definitely something that I love about photography and the process of being creative and how organic it can be, and being able to show people a different side of themselves based on what they perceived as being their limitations.
Yep, for sure.
Like the fact that you built that relationship or that trust with her, for her to then say, hey, how about we try this? And she's like doing something completely outside, and then for her to say that they're the most favorite photos that she's taken so far.
And it's having the empathy almost to try and work out how they're feeling on the other side of the camera. And that's always that. This is going to sound weird too, but I recently started doing some work on the other side of the camera myself, which has been interesting. And
I fucking love that. That is so good.
I saw people were very surprised when things come up that says that I was doing some modelling stuff. I thought
that's not weird at all. You should I fucking love that shit.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there came out a call that I saw. They wanted mature age men in Melbourne to do this sort of shoot. And so I thought, yeah, okay. I sort of threw out some pictures and I said, yes, we want this. And so we did that, and I've done a few shoots with them, and a lot of it now is turning into like spokesperson stuff and video work and that sort of thing, and voiceover for other.
I was going to say, you've got a bit of a voice.
That's actually
voice.
I hadn't thought about it, but it's just reflecting on the work that's been coming through. That's happened, doing the voiceover things. Back in the day, I actually had a ham. You remember ham radios, amateur radio?
Yeah,
I was a ham radio operator. VK2 DBO.
Now we're really geeking out. That's so good. Like you taking that initiative to get onto the other side of the camera.
Seeing, and that's really been important. I think it's really, not so much important, but helpful to empathise to how are they feeling, and I can totally get it. Because sometimes the first time you actually physically meet a person is when they're walking into a studio to do a shoot. You've chatted online, you may have FaceTimed or something like that, but you've got no idea really of who this person is, and they put their trust in you to come into a situation which, I could be Freddy Krueger or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
And so building on that, to make them feel comfortable, and so how would they feel? So I thought, well, I'll give it a go and jump on the other side of the lens and see how it is, and it's been interesting.
Exactly. And like, so I think it was about like 2.5 years ago, I went to Adelaide, and Jacinta Art Nude Model.
I know who she is.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was taking up photography.
Yep.
And I was like, I want you to take my photos. And so we did a studio kind of like
the Doudoir.
Yeah, Doudoir.
Yep.
And because I really wanted to, like, I trusted her,
and
I wanted her to give me that experience of going through all the emotions and, stuff like that. And it just really helps you to connect with the people that you take photos of.
That's what I think really helped, yeah. And she'd be a great person to do that with too, because, again, this is somebody I know online only. We've chatted a few times, never met her, even though I go back to Adelaide at least once a year or more. That's where my mum is and the rest of my family is. But, yeah, what a great person to go, do that process with.
Yeah.
Because she's been on both sides.
Correct.
And she's passionate. She's really good at what she's doing. She's developing so well.
She is really good. And then there's the whole piece around, like, I would put a lot of myself online. Like, I take a lot of self-portraits and, like, do videos and, like, all that type of stuff. And, I wanted people to know who I was, like this whole, with the online space, like, sometimes people can, like, curate a profile or an image and it's not actually them, I
was having this conversation with somebody just 2 days ago about authenticity, and her comment to me was, she says, I wonder sometimes how authentic I am because I don't put everything out there online. And my response is, well, I don't think you need to put everything out. You don't need to live your whole life online. But just as long as you know within yourself that what you are putting online is true to you, how you are offline.
Correct.
You don't need to put everything out there. It doesn't, like, I am the worst at social media and putting things out there. In fact, my Instagram was stuck in 2019 forever until I did a shoot with a friend down at Sorrento, and we did some aerial stuff and we did some rock pool work, and loved it and sent her the pictures. And then she sent me a message saying, this thing came on Instagram, says, "Oh, do you want to be a collaborator on this thing?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's fine." Clicked on that, not realizing that was then going to go on my Instagram. I thought, "Oh no, my Instagram's alive again."
Oh shit!
So,
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, well, it has been good. Yeah,
it kind of like forces
me back into it. Yeah, and so now I'm thinking, and this is where I'm my own worst enemy as far as procrastination and things like that go, and self-judgment and things like that. Says, no, it's not good enough to post and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's still a work in progress. That whole side of me is a work in progress, very definitely.
My my technique or my advice is, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you think. But I even apply that to, like, myself.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I like think to myself, oh, I really don't like this, or like I'm not happy with that, blah blah blah, then the other voice is like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah, get over it.
Yeah, get over it. And it's this piece around perfection.
Yes, very much.
And nothing is ever perfect. So, like, get over it.
Yep, yep. And that's a really hard lesson to absorb and to act on. There's somebody you've had on the podcast before who I'm afraid to talk to again, because she would beat me up again, because we've had one conversation in a passing thing at an event, and she nailed what I needed to do.
Right.
And I haven't done it, and I find it very difficult to push forward past the things. That's whole self-judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Like, sometimes we go through life and we think about, like, the things that we've gone through and the decisions that we've made and, like, all this type of stuff. And, like, I live with no regrets. And someone asked me last night, actually, like, would you change anything that you've done in your life? And I'm like, if I did, I then wouldn't be who you are now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's the right answer.
And because I wouldn't change who I am.
No, things have happened for a reason.
Yeah,
whatever reason that may be. Universe has spoken, and you've gone down a certain path, because you were maybe guided down a certain path. There were reasons at the time why you did a certain thing. If you go back and change it, it would be very different. You never know what's going to, we didn't want to, we had not really thought about moving to Melbourne until it was sort of forced upon us, and then we went down a path that led us here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't change it. Wouldn't go back and do anything different.
Exactly. What are your plans for the rest of 2024?
Like to get out and do some more hiking in winter.
Okay.
That's always a good thing. I like enjoying the snow camping thing. I'm doing it's been such a long, slow start to the year. I'm actually doing my first studio shoot next week.
Okay.
Get back and do some of that. We're playing with some lighting and some fabric and some smoke effects and some black and white things. So that'll be fun. This is up until now. This year's been pretty full on. We go to Adelaide every Christmas because that's where my family's from. And in January, we usually spend a couple of weeks in New Zealand because that's where my wife's family is. And we have, we rent a beach house on the Coromandel Peninsula, so everybody chills out there for 10 days or so. It's great.
Wow.
And then just got back a couple of weeks ago from doing the GAN from Darwin down to Adelaide on the train. And then a week out through Uluru, Kings Canyon and Katajuda out there. So that's all good. Got a lot of photos to edit now, but that's all fun. So it's been a slow start to the year as far as shooting, intentional shooting, studio shooting has gone, but starting up with that again.
But I guess you've done like heaps of like landscape stuff, right?
Yeah. It's been good. And this was a different sort of trip because, as I say, back to the origin story of photography and going on these bushwalks every year. She does one every year like that. She and I, really like hiking and stuff. We don't often do it together. We do it differently. Like she goes on, her ones are what they call guided walks. So she carries a day pack, but the guides with them will set up the accommodation. They'll do the food, that sort of thing. I'll go out and carry everything on my back, the tent, the food, 18 kilos, and then I go and make it worse for myself by putting 3 extra kilos of camera gear on on a chest pouch. So that's always fun.
I mean,
you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, you do what you got to do. Do you have a GoPro? Like
I have one. Actually, my daughter's got it now. She's taken it with her on the van, and I had it strapped to my shoulder strap and was walking on there. I thought, what am I going to do with this? And I tried it. I play with the drone.
Oh yeah,
the drone's good fun. I've got a little Mavic Mini too.
Oh yeah,
and that's fun. You can't take that to a lot of the places I go, and Tassie's like so anti-drone.
Yeah, right.
Because 85% of the country is national park or Crown Reserve, and you can't fly drones. And
yeah, that's because they have Australia's largest poppy farm down there.
That's right.
Fucking hell. Pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, drone is good stuff, and I'd like to do more with that now. In fact, I'm doing a shoot at the end of May, which is not an indoor shoot, not a studio shoot. It was a girl who approached me and said must have gone through my Instagram and said, I want to do a shoot like this. And she picked up this photo from 4 years ago and said, we want to do this outside. So it was like a outdoor, out in the gardens type shoot. So we're going to do that. And I've just thought, as I was walking the dogs this morning, I thought, I'm going to bring my drone along and go into the boathouse at Fairfield and on the river there or something and do some droning as well. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
So, some of those. Get back into some more studio stuff. This friend I was having a conversation with about authenticity and how much she shows of herself online and not. We caught up during the week and she was telling me about a studio she's just discovered in close to where I am, up in Camberwell, and it's a natural light studio. So I thought, I might check that out and spend some time there perhaps, because that seemed to be at a reasonable. You can spend a lot of money on studios.
Yeah. I've often thought about having my own studio.
If I had 1 million, this is another thing. I went on Millionaire Hot Seat, right?
Did you?
I did.
What episode?
It was a while ago. It's probably, I don't know, might be nearly a year ago almost. Okay. It was during COVID, actually. It was the end of COVID.
Right.
Things were just opening up because I only know it was COVID because I had to do a rat test to get into the studio.
Yeah.
And I thought then if I get some decent money out of this, I'm going to knock down my garage and build a 2-car garage, high ceilings, and have it as a studio as well.
Yeah.
I bombed the last question, so $100,000 missed
Damn.
out. Oh well, but it was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, having my own studio would be a good thing.
Yeah. The only thing that's like stopped me from getting a studio space is like the commitment. You you have to sign that lease. Or,
which is why if I could do it at my home, if I did it at home studio would be my ideal. I'd love that.
Yeah,
I would love that so much.
Oh, this fucking cat. Yeah, and then like having a studio would either mean just having it solely for myself, but then you'd have to from like a utilization point of view and from a work point of view, it'd always just be like chasing the money.
Yep.
And then like what fun is that?
Yeah, that's right. And that's where it comes down to what I was saying, is that if photography becomes a job and you're depending on it to put things on tables, then I think it takes a lot of the joy out of it.
Yeah. And then actually having a studio that you would like rent out as well, then there's that whole piece around, like people are in my space and like I can't have it as a convenience thing for me to just use whenever I want, like all this type of stuff. And then you've got like cleaning requirements and like all of this, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like,
then you got your liability instrance or this whole admin-y stuff that you don't want to. Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know.
Is it then really worth it?
A friend of mine he's moved to America now for his work, but he used to sort of rent space in a studio in Prahran, off Chapel Street there. And when he left, he said the space is up. You want to take it? And I thought, it's like $280 a month or something like that. And I thought, it's not over the top expensive.
Yeah.
But then and I decided not to. And then another one, there's in the new studio down in Docklands, that was offering the same sort of like a membership thing at the studio.
I think I know the one.
Yeah. And I looked at it and I thought, no, I belong to the camera club and they've got the studio and it's like it's really good value as far as that sort of thing is. And it's got everything there that you want. The only thing it doesn't have is there's no natural light.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So I'm happy sort of with what like I say, my ultimate would be to knock down the garage and rebuild it with it as a studio space as well.
So if you had no limitations and all the money in the world, what would you do?
I'd do that for one. Definitely would do that. Yeah.
And you go out and buy a Leica Q?
No, not a Leica Q. I did look at the SL3. No, I'm an Olympus tragic. I told you.
Yeah, you are.
I'll be the last person on Micro Four Thirds because the way Olympus has gone, it's now OM system and all that sort of thing. They're having some challenges. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If I did switch systems, this is geeking out. I know.
Sorry, I keep looking because I'm just making sure that we're still recording.
Oh right.
Yeah. Like
I thought the cat was doing something crazy.
No.
Now, if I was going to switch systems, I'm really tempted by the Nikon Z8.
Okay.
They look really cool.
Yeah. The Z8s are up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nikon, was it this year or like late last year, they bought Red?
Yes, they did.
So
that's huge.
It's only a matter of time before they come out with another range that elevates them even higher. Right?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a differentiation between still photography and video. Yeah, which is what differentiates in the Micro Four Thirds game between Olympus and Panasonic. Olympus does do video, can do video, does quite capable video. Panasonic kills it on video. Olympus, I would maintain, kills Panasonic on still photography. Yeah. So it's where your focus wants to lie. But yes, I read that really interesting that Nikon bought Red.
So do you do much video? Or not really?
Not really. I've dabbled. I haven't actually told Andrew this, but one of my late night purchases on Amazon was a gimbal. I thought I'm going to have to try this out.
Which one did you get?
It's called a Hohem M8, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. No, really. I looked at the DJI ones because everybody's saying DJI Ronin's was the way to go.
Yeah.
This was a whole lot less than that. I thought if I'm going to try it, it's like
they've yes, DJI are like pioneers, but there's a hell of a lot more brands that have
with
just
the
as
Z-hung
good.
cranes and things like that.
Yeah. The gimbals will change your life. Sometimes it's a little bit complicated, and it's just like takes heaps of time to like set up,
balance it,
or
everything.
balance. But once you know what you're doing, like it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I think this was a very much an impulse thing.
Did you buy the gimbal because you wanted to do more video?
I had been. Yes, I did, because that was the intent.
Yeah.
Doing things with intent. I could see how incorporating into, particularly like setting it up and even just setting up for BTS stuff in the studio, because a lot of the times I would look at it and think, I really got to do some background stuff, some BTS footage and things of when I do shoots and stuff. If I was any good at self-marketing and self-promoting and all that sort of thing, I probably would have done it a long time ago. But I'm so bad at it that I think that,
you have to have the footage to then be able to have the opportunity to do that.
That's right.
So I think you're taking the right steps
small steps, but we'll get there. Talk to me in a year's time and see if I've actually done it.
I'll get you back. I'll get you back. But I definitely think like it has so many like benefits. Doing like a BTS video, or like just setting a camera up and having it like run.
Yeah.
Like even if it's on time lapse or whatever.
Yep.
Because then it can show like your audience, like how you run your shoots, or like all this type of stuff, and you set up and all that. So
it's actually helpful to go back and look at some of that too.
Yeah.
Because you think, what was my actual? Because you look at some shots and when you finish your editing, actually that's worked out really well.
Yeah.
Where were my lights? Did I have it this side or that side? Or, that sort of thing. And so I've taken still photos with my phone and things like that, just, when I've done a setup, just for posterity and to, as memory joggers when you go back and look at it again later. And because I'm not very good at writing notes and stuff. I should do, the best memory aid is a pencil. So,
to use it.
That's right. Got to write a note to use the pencil.
I mean, I parked my car and I fucking can't remember where I parked it.
Find my car on the phone. I love it.
I like walk out and I'm like, where is my car? Oh, it's out on the street.
Yeah.
Definitely BTS. Have you always kind of like been a little bit scared of video?
Yeah, because I'm unfamiliar with it, because it's not something I've experienced with it. The closest I've come to it is when I started incorporating drones and things into this beach shoot I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's actually good. I'd like to get better at that. And so this was the driver. I want to get better at it. Therefore, I've got to have the tool to practice with to do it.
And the drone stuff at a beach is so good because you've got all these other elements that you can capture.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like what the model's doing.
Yeah, that's right. And you've got all the dynamics of just the waves coming in onto the shore and breaking and flying low across the water as it coming through. When we were in New Zealand, on our family holidays that we do in January, daughter and her partner were teaching themselves surfing, and so just following, having the drone following them along as they were jumping up on the boards and learning how to say, hello. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It looks fabulous. And you're going to talk now.
Larry, buddy.
He's all right. You can probably hear him purring, can you?
Yeah, he's such a friendly cat.
Yeah, that's good. So it adds another dimension to what you produce. So
adds a dimension to like your portfolio as well. And that's what I find is like if you can show diversity in your portfolio and like other people will be like, oh, I really like this shot, or I like to do something like that.
Yeah.
Within the boundaries of what you want to do,
If I'd gone on to do the extra, the following years at PSC, there was a whole 6 month module we were meant to be doing on video. So I haven't actually done it in any sort of academic way.
Yeah, yeah,
This is all self-taught and
yeah.
trying to get my way around DaVinci Resolve and things like that.
Did you know that Hollywood editors use DaVinci Resolve?
I'm amazed that they
didn't
let this
know
thing
that.
out for free.
Yeah.
This I can't get over.
I mean, there's a paid version of it.
There is,
though,
yes.
isn't there?
Yeah. And I think that it mainly incorporates a lot of the audio stuff, like the Fairlight music things into it, as more so than the free version. But
yeah,
amazing that what's available, what the tools are around there that are out at the moment that you can use, and the things you can do. Like we said, it's a great time to be alive.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, do you mainly use like Lightroom or like Photoshop?
Both. Yeah,
Both?
Lightroom and
Yeah.
Photoshop are my two main things. I've dabbled in Luminar on one photo raw
Yeah.
as other editors and things, but no, it took me a long time to get comfortable with Lightroom.
Yeah.
The whole cataloging thing still drives me nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I first of all started just using Photoshop, imported my photos onto the hard drive, use Bridge to find things.
You use Bridge?
I'm one of the few. Well, I used to. I don't actually use it that much anymore because now I bring everything into Lightroom catalogs.
Yeah.
Bridge is pretty good. Bridge is not.
A friend of mine told me about Bridge, and I was like,
Why would you do that?
kind of sounds like Lightroom.
What is? It's the Camera Raw filter, Bridge, and Lightroom are all essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
They really are.
I'm like, what the fuck's Adobe doing?
Yeah,
Like, you're just bringing out slight versions of each other.
What I'm really happy with Adobe, though, is the way they keep developing stuff. Lightroom these days is insane.
Yeah.
It really is. That masking they've got now, the AI masking they have in Lightroom, wow.
Phenomenal.
It is incredible. It really is.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll move things. I go backwards and forwards between Lightroom and Photoshop all the time. You know, as a control edit in Photoshop, and then save it, and it goes back into Lightroom.
Yep.
I'll do that a lot because some of the tools in Lightroom now are like gradient mapping, linear gradients, and things like that are so much easier in Lightroom than they are in Photoshop.
100%.
And so people complain about the subscriptions for Adobe. I don't mind. It's like whatever the photography thing is. Like it's $20 a month or something silly.
Yeah.
I was paying the full one when I was a student. This is the good thing being a student. You got the whole everything anything Adobe made for like $26 a month.
Yeah.
Student discounts was sensational.
Yeah.
I kept it for a year afterwards because I'm sort of just deferred. I'm not a student anymore.
Yeah.
But then I said no, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I just got the photography plan. Some people don't like paying subscriptions and will only buy things as they buy it and own it. I don't care because they keep updating it and they're doing sensational work.
Yeah.
And the generative AI stuff that's coming out now, if you use it for good, not evil. Just so much time saving and boundary expanding things that you can do.
Exactly.
Things that you couldn't do any other way, really.
Yeah.
And it can save you in a lot of situations. Like I was doing a shoot on a rooftop, sunset shoot on a rooftop with some coloured lights and things like that. And sometimes your framing gets a little bit off, and you're too close to the edge. Generative expand, man. You just pull your background and make it this much bigger, and then you can recompose where you want the person to be.
You're only limited by your knowledge of, one, your creativity, and two, what tools you have at your disposal.
Yep.
So if you know you have the ability to use generative fill or generative expand or all of that, then you're going to use it.
Yeah. It's the old Donald Rumsfeld problem. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
There are known knowns and unknown knowns and known unknowns. That sort of thing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, I used Final Cut because I got a Mac for my video work, and then my mate said, "No, you need to like switch over to Adobe's Premiere Pro," and I put it off for such a long time, and then I made the switch, and it took me about 2 months to like get into the groove of, understanding their shortcuts and like all that type of stuff. But now that so that was probably about a year ago, and it's just amazing.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I mean, it is, video is, it's like learning a different language because it's different technique. Like a lot of the techniques are the same, but like I think there's more like range of options and like things like that because you're talking about, like moving images.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
and the
understanding
whole concept of bringing something down onto a timeline and then linking your audio to sync it in and that sort of thing. It's a different language of how you're going to process your.
The audio is my biggest, I wouldn't say hurdle, but it's the biggest thing that I always find is the hardest to like work out.
We didn't do a snap thing at the beginning of the. Does it automatically sync all our audio with the video?
No. Like I'll sync the audio will be fine. But like selecting like music.
Oh yeah.
To your footage.
Yep.
And
cutting to the beats and that
and
sort of thing.
cutting to the beats.
Yeah.
And then
it's like somebody. I don't know who said it. It's a thing. Good audio is more important than good video, good images.
Yeah.
Because you'll watch a video if you can listen to it and it sounds good, you'll forgive shaky footage and things like that. If you've got scratchy sound or muffled sound and your video's perfect, you're not going to get that. That video's not going to get views.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's tricky.
Amazing. How can people find you on social media? What's your
not very active social media.
We'll get it active. We'll get it active.
No, Geoff Oz is the main thing to get it. So it's Geoff, Geoff Aus, and that all came about because more history. As I used to be a fencer.
Oh yeah.
And when you're fencing overseas and competing internationally, you have your name and your country is the 3-letter logo on the back. And so when Instagram was new, I had Geoff Aus.
Hang on. Sorry. So when you said fencing, I was like thinking like building fences, but you're like
no, the other sort. Yeah.
How long were you doing that for?
About 12 years.
What the fuck? How did you get into that?
Very long time ago, like when I was in my 20s, I did like a 10-week course in it back in Sydney.
Right.
And really enjoyed it. I always liked the idea of fencing and it's just a great sport. Yeah. And then work, when I was, travelled overseas for work and that sort of thing, never got back to it. Then in 2007, my son was about 12 and he'd always been running around the backyard with sticks. It was the Star Wars generation and playing things like lightsabers and stuff. And so he'd be poking things, most often his sister.
Yeah.
So okay, we got a channel lessons, found a fencing club in Camberwell close by and do that. And so I took him along. He really enjoyed it. So I thought, well, I'm taking him every Thursday night. I'll go and I'll do it as well. And so for the next 12 years, he and I did it as a thing together. And so I beat him for the first year. I didn't beat him again for another 11.
You allowed him to win? Or you really tried?
No, I really tried.
Really? So he got good. Really good.
He got good. He's really good. Good to the point of 2016 Olympic qualifier. Well, that's came out wrong. He went to the Olympic qualifier as Australia's representative. The way fencing works, or a lot of sports work, is you qualify as a country with a team or an individual of that country.
Yeah.
Within the Asian zone, all the countries that haven't got a person in either of those two categories, either as a team member or as an individual fencer, get to send one person per weapon to this qualifying event.
Per weapon?
Yeah, there's 3 weapons in fencing.
I did not know that.
There's foil, epee, and sabre.
Right.
And so we're foilists.
What's a foilist?
A foil is
the bendy one.
Yeah, it's a very flexible one. Yeah, okay. And you can only hit. There's rules in fencing as to what is target area, what's not. Like epee is the easiest to understand because it's just got a button on the end that opens and closes an electrical circuit.
Gotcha.
Anywhere on your body is a valid hit. If you can make the light go off, you'll get a point. Simplest thing to understand. It's based on the dueling weapon. A foil was developed as a training weapon for dueling, and so they limited the target area to just torso, and you had to be the attacker to actually score the point. Sort of like in volleyball, you have to be the server to actually get the point when you're playing volleyball. In fencing, in foil, if you have what they call a priority weapon, you have to be the attacker to actually get that hit. And so what the idea behind it is that when you're being attacked, if you're in a duel, the first thing you've got to do is actually parry that away so that you don't get hit, you don't get stabbed before you're allowed to hit back. If you just both hit together, well, you might have actually scored a point, but you're both dead because you've both been stabbed. So that's not going to help anybody. So foil was a training weapon for the épée, for the duelists, to get rid of the threat coming towards them and then respond with the riposte, parry riposte. And then saber is different again in that it's the only weapon you could score with the edge of the weapon, and that's based on the Hungarian cavalry saber sitting on horseback. And so target area is everything from the waist up because it's very ungentlemanly to go and hit the horse and that sort of things.
I told you were going to be such an interesting character. We've learned a lot about you today.
Probably more than I realised myself.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming along.
It's been a pleasure.
Chat.
No, it's been great. Big fan of what you're doing with this and with the work that I've seen, and great to catch up once again. We've met before once, briefly, but this has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. And look, like the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm shining the light onto you guys, and like I want to bring your characters to life. And like I've been getting some great feedback, and I've had some great guests, and I've got more great guests coming up. So. Hopefully I can get you back later on in the year and see how your year went, and
ask me if I've actually done some of the things I was meant to be doing.
Well, that's
accountability.
Well, that's also the benefit about doing this is
I'm out there. I know.
I'm putting you on the hook.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for listening in. Make sure you hit subscribe and that notification bell, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.
Cheers. Good one.